Courtney Cox on the show.
There you go. 457-1065. Let's get back to the phone lines. One call before we get to a break.
Yeah, let's go to Mike.
Okay,
Mike and Dayton.
How you doing? Welcome to the Wrestling Guys.
I'm doing real good. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
I had a question about the Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Yeah.
Do you think possibly the WWF would bring him in as a one-time deal for WrestleMania, kind of like WoW did?
Not for this WrestleMania.
No. I don't see that happening. Bobby the Brain Heenan, and who I have all the respect in the world for. I think he's a great color commentator. I just don't think he fits into what the WWF wants to do right now.
And I think, basically, Heenan said pretty much on the show that, he'd be more than willing to accept a desk job with the WWF, but that's about all he wants to do now.
Yeah.
But they could bring him in maybe for the gimmick battle royal.
I don't think Bobby would do that.
No,
I think Bobby would look at that and kind of have the same opinion we do, that some of the guys, it cheapens their legacy.
Exactly.
And I think, some of the guys like Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov, I think it does do that. Certainly from a comical standpoint with Gobbledygooker and Brother Love, I can see that. But they put their guys in there like Michael Hayes. It just doesn't really do anything for their legacy in this business. 457-1065. We're going to take a break. We come back, your phone calls, and we'll wrap up. We are the Wrestling Guys.
On Buckeye Country 106.5.
Welcome back to the Wrestling Guys at Buckeye Country 106.5. I'm Shawn Stidham along with Willie F. Julia is in here as well. And last week, Vince McMahon ruffled a lot of feathers with his interview with Bob Costas this last Wednesday on HBO.
Are you going to let me finish?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm just sorry. I'm just doing
Go ahead.
Turn that for... No, I was just doing that. No,
Okay.
that was Vince.
I thought you had to win the fence. So.
No, I was doing Vince.
I know. I'm sorry. Anyway.
But you keep cutting me off. At a point. I want to talk about something.
But Bob did keep cutting him off. It was horrible.
No.
The one thing I was surprised about that interview last week is how bad that Bob Costas looked against Vince McMahon. I think it was
pretty equal.
I do think it was equal, but I'm surprised Costas came off looking unprepared. When Vince got him to admit that he hadn't seen the XFL since the first week, and that played right into what Vince's point was of, people need to give us another chance.
Right.
And Costas came back with the crack, well, aren't your pregame shows pretty low-rent entertainment? And Vince goes, well, we don't have pregame shows. And then the fact that Bob said that he hadn't seen wrestling,
about a year.
or the crack with the
Suck It. And
do you think Suck It and the Crotch Chop are good for cable television?
Right.
And Vince comes back with, well, what was the lead into your show, Bob? Let's look here. Oh, The Sopranos.
Yeah, exactly.
That was awesome. You know what? Something that really disappointed me in Bob Costas. He said, I don't know. I know he's a big sports person, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I knew, and after watching, I don't like him anymore. But he has that question.
Tom Hanks is a pretty big actor person too.
Yeah, well, I don't know. But I thought you couldn't tell by this question.
Wait, you didn't know Tom Hanks is a big actor person?
No, he's cute. This question that he asked Vince, you couldn't tell that he was into sports at all because he looks at him, he goes, "Well, how about your players?" And
wait a minute.
Listen,
you think Bob Costas isn't into sports?
No, you couldn't tell by this question that I'm going to say that he asked because it was I knew it and I'm not into sports. Okay. But you have a team that didn't have a 4-week preseason like most sports do, especially football. They play with each other a great deal, and then they start.
Yeah.
And obviously the XFL didn't have that because they kind of came really fast.
Right.
And so Vince McMahon's like, well, we're doing a lot better. There's a lot more players, better plays that we're doing. And Bob looks at him and goes, same players as a month ago, Vince. So what's the difference? That was the stupidest question I think I've ever heard, because if you know a team that have played together for a month that hadn't before, of course they're going to get better. They're not going to get worse.
That's Vince's fault for not allowing them to have the proper time to get to know each other.
Exactly, but the thing is, why would Bob, being a sports person, understanding that logic...
I think what happened is those two guys started going at each other, and they get agitated, and so you get thrown off your game a little bit. And I think Vince did that to Bob, and I think Bob did that to Vince.
I mean, the same people say...
I think Vince did that more to Bob, though.
The same people say things about the comments that you make on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it's been, over a month.
Yeah, that's okay.
So that's all right.
457-1065, the phone number. Let's go back to the phone lines. And let's go to line 1 and talk to Chad and Troy. You're on the Wrestling Guys.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Chad.
I have a question. I'm not sure. Someone may have mentioned this because I missed about 20 minutes, but do you think there's any chance that maybe Vince will let Paul Heyman run WCW? Because, his big problem was with the money side of things. Is that the possibility?
No.
I guess I would say anything's possible, but I would agree with Willie that...
I don't think Heyman's been there long enough.
No, and
That trust factor's not there.
I still think that ultimately WWF will be the A product and WCW is going to be the B product.
Yeah.
And Paul Heyman's an A guy.
Yeah.
You want Heyman on your top team.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Heyman's going to stay is with the WWF. And for the foreseeable future, Paul Heyman's going to remain as the color commentator for Raw, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
All right, that's all I had. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, Chad. Appreciate the call. Let's go to line 2, Miamisburg. Randy, you're on the Wrestling Guys.
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Gotta give a real quick shout out. I got a buddy by the name of Alex Leno, and he's in the Kettering Hospital right now recovering from an appendicitis surgery, I believe.
I've been there, so my condolences to him.
Yeah, shout out.
Definitely. Let's see, are you taking shout-out notes, Willie?
Yeah, there you go. Shout
out notes? Yeah, go ahead. What else you got?
Okay, Coco Beware.
For the gang
Coco
match.
Beware.
Coco Beware.
Powers of Pain, Warlord Barbarian.
Well, wait a minute. Coco Beware, he had that comment on Beyond the Mat, and I don't think he'd be welcome back.
With Frankie? Come on.
No, come
Orient
on.
Express.
Now let's think about what Coco Beware said about Vince.
Mm-hmm.
And let's think about that Vince had to fire Coco Beware. I don't think Coco Beware will be back. Sorry, no way.
No Coco?
No Coco.
No Coco. What about Santa Claus?
Not Coco.
Santa Claus.
Oh my.
T.L. Hopper.
Oh.
T.L. Hopper.
Wow,
The Goon.
Did you pull out the Survivor Series 1991 and
you're
start reading down the
You're
back?
digging back.
No. They're
The
just
Goon?
sounded funny.
The
Oh,
Goon.
the Goon. That's a good one.
Max Moon.
Wow.
Freddie Joe Floyd.
Oh my. How many of these you have written down?
Actually, that's it.
Oh
Okay.
man.
That's that's going back.
Yeah, it is.
Freddie
Pretty crazy.
Joe Floyd.
I need some Advil or something.
What about Rusty Brooks?
Rusty Brooks.
Rusty Brooks. There's
How about
another
Well
guy.
Done? There you go.
What about Billy Gunn and Barkin as the Smoking Guns?
There you go.
That makes you want to put a gun to your... Anyway. Yeah.
Randy, appreciate the phone call. Thank you
Anytime,
very
guys.
much.
Take her easy. Bye-bye.
Back to the Vince thing real quick. Don't you think that Vince would have come off a whole lot better if he would have just maintained his composure?
Yes.
He could have totally slam dunked Bob Costas and put him away.
Yes. But you know what Vince does? Vince kayfabes. Because
Yeah.
Vince played the Mr. McMahon character on that show with Bob Costas during that interview.
But
he's the only guy left that kayfabes because he stays that character.
No, he said that but he even said that he wasn't playing that.
Well,
And he said that, what we do, is sports entertainment, and I'm coming here and I'm being, Vince McMahon. I'm not Mr. McMahon from the WWF.
but I think at certain points he was. I think he crossed over a couple of times during that. I think
But all
for
it
Vince McMahon to get the mainstream credibility that he wants with the XFL,
That's not the way to do it.
exactly. He did not come across the way he should have.
No, absolutely not. And Bob Costas, I think, was an idiot too. But I don't know. I think but who got damaged more? Vince McMahon.
Dave Scher, who we talk about a lot on this show from OneWrestling.com, he's a good friend of ours. He made the comment about how Vince really took it, or it's not Vince, but Bob Costas really took it easy on Bobby Knight, and
Yeah.
for that, Bob Costas lost a lot of credibility because Bobby Knight certainly is as guilty of as many horrible, terrible things as Vince McMahon has been.
Yeah. And who would have thought that Bob Knight, when you have a show with Vince McMahon and Bob Knight, that Bob Knight would come off being really passive?
Who would have thought that Bob Knight would come on second?
Yeah, true. That's a valid point, too.
That's the power of the WWF. And again, when you, in this whole line of who would have thought again that 4 years ago that we would be sitting here tonight talking about the World Wrestling Federation on the verge of purchasing WCW.
I didn't even think about it last week.
I know. You remember back
4 years ago.
Remember when Bret Hart got his release from the WWF so he could go sign with Ted Turner?
Yeah.
And the idea was, hey, Vince couldn't afford Bret Hart.
Yeah.
It was a very dark time for the WWF, and now he's completely turned it around. And it's like you said earlier in the show, Vince McMahon is able now to look at Ted Turner and say, Ted, I won. So, and I still think if Ted Turner was in charge of his networks, which he's really not anymore, wrestling would probably still be on there. Ted Turner likes wrestling.
Yeah,
I took the swipe about how, it's not our number one show, and it's not a show like ER And so Jamie Kellner is really big on this upscale programming, and that could be that guy's downfall.
Most definitely.
I mean, I don't know.
And then there could be possibility. I don't think it'll happen fast enough, but it could be possible that if he does fall by the wayside, then they look at bringing in a wrestling production again. Very possible.
Here comes Jerry Jarrett.
Exactly.
And maybe Jerry Lawler with him.
Very possible.
That could happen too. Bill Watts.
Boy, you could book another battle royal. Just the names that could come in.
Former WCW bookers.
Bookers, yeah.
There you go. 457-1065. Let's take one last phone call, and we go to let's go to line 3 and talk to Steve. Steve, welcome to the Wrestling Guys.
Yeah, guys, I'd like to see Abdul the Butcher come back to WCW, and I'd like to see Joey Styles come up there, and I'd like to see the new call letters be ECW instead of WCW.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think happen, but
I don't think ECW would be the same if they did try that. I think there would be some certain compromises made from what the original product was.
Right.
I think it would water it down, and I think that everybody would be complaining what ECW sold out or ECW this. ECW is basically dead. Although they may never officially close it just to kind of say the spirit's still alive. But I'd rather ECW not run than run and be a watered-down version of what it was, and for people to have bad memories of it. Appreciate the phone call. Thank you very much. Want to mention again, March 30th, the UPWA features a show in Gratis at the old high school gym. Free admission on the show. Logan Kane, Billy Niles, Suicide Solution, the Po Boys, the Cart Wrongs. Admission is free for that show on March 30th.
And if you're calling for tickets, all the tickets are gone.
Yes, they're all gone. They're all given away, but it's free. So
that's right. You still have a chance. I would just get there early.
Doors open at 6. Get there then. OCW, April the 7th, 229-8189 for information about their show at the John Bryan Community Center, and HWA next Tuesday, right? Free showcase again.
Free showcase down at the headquarters of HWA in the training center, and for more information on that, call 513-771-1650.
And don't forget, keep up to date with all the wrestling news, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The Wrestling Guys hotline, 285-0991, brought to you by Grips and Things, located in West Carrollton.
Grips and Tips.
Grips and Tips. What did I say, Grips and Things?
Yeah, that's right.
Give them a refund. Grips and Tips. For more information, go to gripsandtips.com. We are done. Thanks again for listening to The Wrestling Guys
on Buckeye Country 106.5.
Later. See y'all new. Vince McMahon owns everything else in the wrestling world.
He doesn't own us.
Not us yet, but
But you know what?
For the right price.
I was going to say, if a check comes my way, he can own me too.
Welcome to the Wrestling Guys, Buckeye Country 106.5. I am Shawn Studham. He is Willie F. And together we are the Wrestling Guys. A lot to cover tonight. The week of WrestleMania, of course, the Super Bowl of professional wrestling coming up this Sunday live on pay-per-view, and we will talk about that. Plus, we have a number of huge guests scheduled for this show a little bit later on, scheduled to join us, and I would say tentatively, because this guy, you can never, there's something about that West Coast time he doesn't understand, but Rob Van Dam is scheduled to join us a little bit later on. Also, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Very fitting we have him on this week, given the fact that for many people, the greatest match of all time happened at WrestleMania 3.
I agree.
With Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage.
I agree. It's the greatest match of all time. If you haven't seen it, trust me, go see it.
And then another person we're going to have on is legendary 8-time NWA champion Harley Race, who at the age of 57 could be making a comeback, believe it or not.
Which, that's fine. I think, more power to him.
So we will talk
I'd like to see what he does, most definitely. I hope he's not just coming back, for the paycheck. I hope that he really feels, as hopefully most of those, older guys do. Trust me, he could still kick my butt, but I hope that he's not, that he actually thinks, hey, yeah, I can still do a good match.
But the difference now is if he comes back and gets paid by today's standards. In one week, he'll make what he made in a year.
Probably.
So you can understand why the money is tempting.
No, I understand it completely.
So we will talk to him a little bit later on. Plus, tonight, we will be giving away copies of WrestleMania, The Complete Insider's Guide, which is a great read. $50 is what the retail value is.
I was able to leaf through it, beforehand. It's a very cool book.
every WrestleMania is detailed, behind-the-scenes stories.
Yep.
And it's absolutely a great read.
And you get the DVD.
Yes, and I know that's what you like.
I can add one more to my collection.
And what's the collection up to now, by the way?
It's like $325.
I figured after Charlie's Angels came out this week, you probably upped it.
I haven't even seen it.
Really? Okay.
No.
That's fine.
I want to see it because Crispin Glover's in it, but that's about it.
Let's go ahead and get into the news. Today was the day that officially AOL Time Warner locked the door on World Championship Wrestling. There was a meeting this morning around 10 a.m. at the power plant, and Brad Siegel was not in attendance.
Wow, I'm shocked.
And basically the meeting went almost an hour, and they were all told that they were terminated. And there was a human resources rep from the World Wrestling Federation there who told the group that if you were...
Little counseling session going on?
If you would like to work for the World Wrestling Federation, we have applications here, and we will...
They made them fill out applications?
They made them fill out... This is corporate America. They made them fill out applications.
Wait a minute. You have to fill out an application to be in the World Wrestling Federation?
Yeah, well, for an office job, yeah.
Oh, all right.
So, yeah, these are the office people. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you say that.
Really, there's about 20 people or so that will be left in the old WCW offices down in Atlanta. Dinah Myers, Steve Barnett, Rob Garner. Those are advertising production level people. They will all still remain down in Atlanta for the short term at least. As far as severance pay, everybody will be getting 9 weeks of severance pay.
That's
and then
bad.
They will get 4 weeks of severance pay for every year they worked for the company.
Oh, okay.
So not too bad. I mean, if you work for WCW for 5 years, you'd get 20 weeks pay.
Sure.
About. So that's not too bad. And then also, this is great too. When employees they went down to the power plant, went to the meeting.
Yeah.
They're told they're fired.
Yeah.
You have the rest of the day to clear out your offices.
Right.
They go back to their offices, and the computers and everything else had already been deactivated, turned off. You know. During that 45-minute meeting, they already went in and zapped the computers.
Amazing.
And then on top of that, and Wade Keller of Pro Wrestling Torch is reporting this. Over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I can confirm this, the security was beefed up around the offices, and people coming in and going out were being searched to make sure that they weren't taking things with them.
Well, sure.
Which
You might want a WCW mug or something.
They still have some Scott Steiner wrestling buddies in the back. They want to make sure
they want to make sure those are safe.
And apparently, one thing that had not been secured was the mailroom. So some of the WCW employees had went into the mailroom and mailed themselves some of the artifacts they wanted to have or keep.
Oh, my God. That's amazing.
That's a great story there. But and, of course, WCW and the World Wrestling Federation now one company, all under the ownership of Vincent K. McMahon.
That's right.
And
Monopoly.
We'll talk about that a little bit later. Get your opinions at that at 457-1065. Little incident happening last night at the SmackDown tapings up in, was it Cleveland that took place? Not sure what.
No, last night was Detroit.
Detroit. Yes. But Shawn Michaels, who was going to be on Raw this past Monday, and then he ran to time constraints or whatever, so he scrapped his segment.
Yep.
Michaels was going to be on SmackDown last night, and basically was told he was unable to perform.
Yeah.
Sent home.
That's right.
He was not. Now, from what we understand, from people that were there, Michaels physically has never looked better.
Yes.
Is ready to go.
Yes.
They didn't have time problems last night.
No time problems.
So why would Shawn Michaels be sent home if physically he's okay and time-wise we're fine and we have a plan for him at WrestleMania?
Well, simply put, and trying to put this as delicately as possible,
yes,
he may be tagging up with Road Dogg real soon.
No! Yeah, that could be. Anyway, but, you know, we don't know. So,
we don't know.
Anyway, Shawn Michaels, his appearance at WrestleMania is iffy. And just so you know, there was a rumor going around that at Backlash, of course, the pay-per-view after WrestleMania, he was going to be in a tag team main event with Triple H. So now that looks like that could be up in the air as well. And I'd also heard another one that
good thing they signed him to a new long-term deal.
Apparently there is a clause in this contract that if he has conduct unbecoming a professional, then he could be let go from his contract. So And, why rock the apple cart when there's only one apple cart in town now?
Yeah, exactly.
Another guy who got his walking papers today, Jerry the King Lawler.
Oh, I bet you he was looking forward to those.
Who a little while ago was on Dave Meltzer's wrestling show at WrestlingObserver.com and said he did get his release. He and his wife, the cat, officially gone from the World Wrestling Federation. Of course, this happens after the WWF buys WCW, and there's nowhere else to go.
Exactly. I'm sure he's quite happy.
Think that was a coincidence?
Oh, you think? Just a little bit.
So if they...
And I keep hearing rumors, too, that they're going to pull out of Memphis.
Yeah, well, that's been coming for some time, too.
Yeah, I mean, with all that stuff going on where, they can't be on the same show that Jerry Lawler's on. Anyone that has a developmental deal is not allowed to participate in a show that Jerry Lawler's on. I think it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. Let's see what else to get into here. The Gimmick Battle Royal, of course, is this Sunday at WrestleMania. We're all looking forward to that.
Wait a minute. Don't lump us all into the same category, please.
The Gimmick Battle Royal featuring, of course, such legendary characters as Brother Love and
the Goon.
The
Goon,
The Goon.
The Goon is actually going to be there. So I can't remember who brought it up last week.
The Goon will be there.
Yes.
Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov, the Bushwhackers. Those will all be in the Battle Royal. Gobbledygooker. Now there's some talk that possibly Hakeem...
Oh, come on.
Could be in the Battle Royal.
Let him come, please. Show the man some dignity and let him at least come out as the one-man gang.
Why? It's a paycheck.
I know, but he's the one-man gang. He's not Hakeem.
I'm just telling you, that's what they're saying. Like, Hakeem could be coming back to the WWF this Sunday at WrestleMania.
Great.
Ratings are in. Raw did a 4.7. Nitro, the final Nitro ever, banging out a 3.
Yeah.
Very nice job.
I thought it was going to do higher than that. I'm sorry. And really, WWF didn't do anything. So now 4.7, that's what they've done the past 2 weeks.
Right.
Correct?
They've been around 4.6 or so. So they rose a little, not much.
Not much.
And then you have Nitro hanging around a 3.0, so.
But, that's nothing. No. I'm sorry, as much interest that was generated, I think once again it shows you that wrestling's going to be on a little bit of a decline.
So now, obviously, by common wisdom, coming this Monday, with Raw being the only game in town, you would think that, hey, they should be able to bang out a 7.0, right?
If they don't, there's serious problems.
Yeah. If they don't hit like at least a 5.5, 5.5 to 6.
Yeah.
There's going to be some eyebrows raised.
Absolutely.
Other things to get into. This past Monday, of course, we saw the takeover of WCW by the McMahons. Shane McMahon now, according to the storyline, is in charge of World Championship Wrestling.
Brilliant segment.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Behind the scenes, Shane McMahon did meet with WCW wrestlers. Mm-hmm. He said, look, guys, we're going to shut down for about 6 to 8 weeks.
Yep.
Then we're going to come back. You're going to have a show on TNN. We're going to evaluate talent from now until that point. And basically, that's all he knew.
And we're going to go up against WrestleMania or Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, apparently the time slot will be Saturday nights at 11 p.m.
Yeah, 11 to 1.
Yeah.
Oh, goody.
Isn't that a good time slot? As far as the WCW wrestlers who were kept under contract, your names like Miss Hancock and Chavo Guerrero Jr. and Lance Storm and those guys, it looks like that their contracts all have a 90-day rollover.
Yeah.
They will be renegotiated at that time and probably reduced in pay simply because, according to Vince, we're only going to run one show a week under the WCW banner.
Right.
No house shows.
So,
a lot of these guys who typically are making $150,000 to $200,000 a year are probably going to be cut at least in half.
But the one thing that they can do, though still, is the shows are going to be run on Wednesdays.
Yes.
From what I'm hearing. So if Vince is cool enough to let these guys go out and take some independent bookings on the weekends,
right,
well, they can recoup a lot of that money.
Or even take some of these guys and have them work on the WWF cards on the undercard. Something to let these guys jack up their income a little bit. And if you listen to Vince, he is the humanitarian of the world. He had a meeting backstage before Raw, and he told everybody he wanted to thank them for all their hard work because without that, they would not be in the position to buy WCW. But Vince also told them that, the reason I bought WCW is these people have families. They have jobs. They have lives. We need to, I felt like that it wasn't fair for them to be left out in the cold. Mm-hmm. Like, wait a minute. This is the same guy who bulldozed through all the independent territories in the early to mid-'80s, shut down Pacific Northwest, Don Owens, thank you very much, shut the doors.
Oh, well, none of them had families.
No, of course
None of them. They were all single.
Vern Gagne, shut down AWA.
Nope, he was fine.
So,
yeah, he didn't have a family.
Vince is 54, maybe, with middle age and whatnot. He's
That's possible. Or maybe since he's able to be, basically a jerk in front of the cameras, then he doesn't have to be one behind the cameras. It's like his little therapy session that he does.
I think that's what it is.
Might be.
Anyway, so tonight we want to get your opinions. WrestleMania this Sunday, what are you looking forward to? Also, what's your opinion of the WCW WWF deal? As we said earlier, Rob Van Dam, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Harley Race, all scheduled to join us, plus your chance to win the official Insider Story WrestleMania. That includes a 2-hour DVD. One other thing I want to mention, coming up this Friday at the Gratis City Building at the old high school gym, a free show featuring the superstars of the UPWA on that card, the Suicide Solution against the Po' Boys, and a weapons legal no disqualification death match. Also, High Style Billy Niles, the champion of UPWA, he defends the belt against the future Logan Kane. Should we talk about Logan's wedding? We'll talk about that tonight. Why not?
Okay.
Also, the Cart Wrongs, the tag team champions, take on the Convicts. Admission is free, so head out to
Absolutely
Gratis Friday.
free.
Absolutely.
Just the cost of gas. That's it.
Doors open at 6 o'clock. Get there early so you can get a good seat. And we are going to take a break. 457-1065 is your phone number. We are the Wrestling Guys.
On Buckeye Country 106.5.
Welcome back to the Wrestling Guys at Buckeye Country 106.5. Shawn Studeman, Willie F. And again, scheduled to join us tonight, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Harley Race, and Rob Van Dam. But first, let's take some phone calls. 457-1065. Let's first go to line 1. And Don Kirby, you are on the Wrestling Guys.
Yeah, I got you. Hey, I was wanting to know what happened to Road Warrior Hawk.
Road Warrior Hawk has health issues. And basically, on that...
He had a bad heart, wasn't it?
Yeah, he has a heart ailment. And on that Superstars of Wrestling tour over in Australia last year is when he started suffering some problems. And so since that time, he has not wrestled. And I saw an online interview with Road Warrior Animal, and basically he doesn't know what the guy, health-wise, is, if he's ever going to be able to go again.
Yeah.
Okay, another thing, you think they're going to let Ric Flair go, or do you think he'll still have his job?
Not a chance.
No.
They will keep Ric Flair.
Yeah, Ric Flair has always had a pretty decent relationship with Vince McMahon, from what we understand. And plus, the perception by WWF is that Ric Flair basically is the face of WCW. Despite maybe how bad he looked this past Monday, Ric Flair is still, the man.
Yeah, but he can still cut a killer promo. He did the promo. He did the promo exactly the way that they wanted him to do it. And so, yeah, I say that he's earned his spot.
And I was probably, on the hotline on Tuesday, I was pretty harsh on the guy. And Ric Flair is one of my favorites of all time, bar none.
He just shouldn't wrestle anymore. That's, bottom line.
He could probably still go if he took 2 or 3 months and dedicated himself in the gym and got himself back in shape. But for Ric Flair to come out in the robe and have to wear a T-shirt because his chest doesn't look like it should, it doesn't do anything to his legacy.
Manneries.
Manneries?
He's got manneries.
Anything else, Don?
No, that's it. Thanks a lot.
All right, appreciate the phone call. 457-1065. And now, how do you pronounce this, Julia?
Bud Rowe.
Bud Rowe. Bud Rowe. Okay, Bud Rowe, you are on the Wrestling Guys.
What's up, y'all?
Okay, this sounds a lot like the Bink.
You betcha.
Okay, where's the name Bud Rowe come from?
Well, it's coming from a name given to me by my good brother, and I feel that it's time for a change.
Oh, okay, so you're changing your gimmick.
Yes.
What was your gimmick originally?
Well, it was like the Bink, the Milltown Marauder, Milltown guy representing, but I think me being Bud Rowe...
Wait a minute, what are you representing?
Milltown, Ohio.
Okay.
Gotcha, okay.
Do they know this?
Of course they know.
All right, there might be...
I told them.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, Bud, what's up?
Yeah.
Well, I want to say what's up to all my people up at K. Rogers, because they're the new listeners of the show.
What the hell is K. Rogers?
Kroger's, man.
Oh, okay. K. Rogers. I thought you were talking about Kenny Rogers, and they're like that restaurant.
No, it's not Kenny Rogers Roasters from Seinfeld. It's our pronunciation of Kroger's.
Okay, it's K. Rogers.
K. Rogers.
Yeah, all my people
that's all the kids are saying it nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. Shawn Ronto, Matt Devil, Craig Baker.
Stop your shout-outs. What do you want to talk about?
All right, no shout-outs. Come on.
No. All right. Now, I think that with Tajiri coming in and with Jerry Lynn coming in, it's definitely going to put the light heavyweight division back on track, because I think a lot of people are getting sick and tired of Dean Malenko seeing them in every single light heavyweight match.
We'll see. I mean, there's a lot of guys in there. Jerry Lynn. You take a look at a guy like Dean Malenko, like Eddie Guerrero. There's a bunch of people there who are available to come in and probably boost that light heavyweight division. So, Bink, we got to run. Thank you very much. And that is our special guest, I do believe. All right, let's go ahead and welcome. In 1999, you voted this guy as your Wrestler of the Year for the Wrestling Guys Talk Show. In the year 2000, he started off with kind of on the wrong foot with a fractured ankle, but turned everything around and has a feature role in the Black Mass 2. We're talking to maybe the premier free agent in all wrestling right now, Rob Van Dam. Rob, how are you?
Everything's doing just fine, Daddy.
What is this?
I don't know. It's my Fonzie impression. It's known throughout the world.
That was actually pretty. You've been around the guy long enough.
That was not a bad Fonzie.
Thank you very much. I pull it out every once in a while.
I think you sound a little bit too sober for it, though.
Yeah, well, I had this interview coming up, so I didn't want to prepare too much.
So what is going on with you?
Pretty much just everything that's been going on the last few months, just more of the same. There's been no big changes. I'm hanging out. I'm doing a few indie shows here and there selectively. Still doing the Hollywood thing. Got a bunch of projects going on, but I mean, I'm sure that you're referring more to related to the big change in the wrestling world.
Yeah, I mean, because let's face it, you are a premier name in the sport. And like I said going into the interview, you were voted by the fans in this area as Wrestler of the Year for the year 1999. And now, we don't see you on a weekly basis on television. So is there any likelihood that you could end up, in a showcase where we can see you again?
Well, I believe that there is, but that's only based on the same common sense that you're using. I don't have any secret information that I'm hiding. Before WCW just changed ownerships, I had been speaking with them. Now that WWF has bought WCW, it's definitely a better scenario than if WCW had folded, which was looking like a possibility. So I think something good could come out of this. The reason why everyone in ECW is wrestling for WWF or WCW and everybody except RVD, I don't know, it must be because I suck real bad and I didn't stand out good enough in ECW.
I don't know if that was the case.
I haven't been shooting down any offers or ideas that have come my way. It simply hasn't gone that deep in conversation yet, and although I don't feel like it's been a lack of effort on my part, everything on the internet seems to suggest that somehow the ball's in my court, whatever the hell that means. But
well, let me ask you something, because you brought up the internet, and there was some talk a few years ago that when you made an appearance in the WWF, when ECW did the Raw invasion, that you really didn't get along too well with certain people backstage. Is there any truth to that, and could that be maybe why you haven't got an offer yet from the WWF?
What happened back then in '97 is still in people's mind today, and decision-making people. It wasn't a matter of me not getting along with certain people. I got along with everybody great, although I saw my angle dissipating, which was the whole reason for me being there. I'd come into WWF as Rob Van Dam from ECW, the wrestler that says he's too good to wrestle in front of the hardcore crowd. He belongs on Monday nights with the true superstars. Let's take a look at him. So I had all that going in. It sounded, really good, a good chance to get ECW some exposure, which was the whole reason I was there from my perspective. Dreamer and Sandman and Paul would come on the show and tell me I belong to ECW, I got to come back. So it was all just to get ECW exposure, and it went after two good matches that I had, one with Jeff Hardy and then one with Too Cold Scorpio. After that, my angle seemed to totally dissipate. I'd show up to work and they'd say, "Hey, Mr. Monday Night, hey, you got a match? We're going to show a Shotgun Saturday." Everything just seemed to go out the window from where I was standing, because this happened over a few months. I did the first shot on Raw, and then I took off to Japan and gave everybody a chance to spread rumors and everything. So anyway, then after they got me teaming with Jerry Lawler now, and the Headbangers are pinning Jerry Lawler, I'm like, wait, what's this got to do with me even being here? What's going on? And actually, I kept it all in until the very last day. I wrestled 4 matches. The 5th one, which was at the Cobo in Detroit, they wanted me to wrestle with the Armstrong. Road Dogg, yeah, before he was Road Dogg. And they wanted to do something with Jerry Lawler, and I was the outsider, but yet they had Sabu on the card that night, Brian Christopher, Chris Candido, all outsiders without me bringing them in or anything. And Paul went from, prior to that night, Paul was Mr. ECW saying, Van Dam, we got you under contract, you got to come back. That was the whole angle. Now he's just commentating just like he is now on WWF. He's putting Sabu over during the match saying, yeah, this is one of the craziest, wackiest, homicidal, genocidal, whatever. And it was like the whole reason for me being there had gone out the window, so it came to a point to where, yeah, I had to say, look, what's going on? And turns out everybody had a different idea. And Mr. Heyman, who was responsible for the whole thing, just stood there during the talk with his mouth shut and didn't say one word as I was explaining that I was there to get ECW exposure.
Rob, what is your relationship like with Paul? Because we heard that during your absence from ECW that maybe there were some words exchanged. You came back, you were on the last pay-per-view, you were in the main event. How is your relationship now with Paul Heyman?
Just like always, he's impossible to get a call back from, impossible to get money out of. But at the same time, he's a friend, especially when I don't talk business. I enjoy his company, and when it comes to business, I do enjoy working with him. And my time at ECW over 4 or 5 years when I was there was irreplaceable and definitely the most outstanding of my career. Yet at the same time, you kind of got to do business with him, and there wasn't any necessarily words exchanged. I left ECW when I was owed a lot of money that I knew I wasn't getting, and the company was going further in the hole. Every show there was less of a crowd, there was less effort put into the show. Paul wasn't even at the shows anymore. It was just going down. Everybody was working themselves further and further into debt. And when I left there, there was only like a couple more shows afterwards. I went to Thailand to shoot Black Mass 2, and when I came back, they had I believe stopped running shows. Maybe they had 1 or 2. Paul and I talked about the pay-per-view, letting our issues stand aside just for the one night, so that we could work that night. I wanted to wrestle. Definitely wanted to wrestle one more time. Definitely in ECW. Definitely with Jerry Lynn. Main event. Pay me up front. It was a good deal.
Was there any criticism or any heat from the guys in the back because you hadn't been around, and now here you are at the pay-per-view, you're in the main event?
Yeah, there was a few little snide comments, but definitely the relationship that I have with the boys there is such that that's very appropriate. And I can understand what's gone through everybody's mind that day, and even the whole time when I was with ECW, where I know that my check was so big every week when I was on salary. I know there was other guys whose checks were, only this big, and comparing it, it's just business. And although I don't blame anybody for thinking that they might be done wrong in a situation like that, it's never, or at least it shouldn't be personal about the particular talent that's getting paid. Everybody's just kind of out for themselves.
Absolutely, and in a case like you, where you live on the West Coast, so and with most of ECW shows being on the East Coast, you had to, a lot of times pay a lot of money just to get to those shows, and then in return, you're not getting paid.
Yeah, that's right, and there's a lot of airplane compensation that I didn't get to that goes along with everything else. Although a lot of that was my choice. Yeah, even moving out to the West Coast was my decision. When I was living in Florida, I usually had about a 3-hour flight anyway, so I just decided I'd make it like a 6-hour flight. Didn't know I'd have so many non-direct flights and have to stop every week, but yeah, it was a decision I made. I love it out here, and for just having a job that was mostly on the weekends, it ended up being not too bad.
Despite how it may have ended, you had to have a good time, though, when you look back at the overall picture of your time in Extreme Championship Wrestling.
There's no doubt about it, and I don't regret one decision that I ever made. Even though there was a time when you could leave, if you quit ECW, bam, you'd show right up on Monday night because there was a big 3, and competition between the 3 was tense, and everybody was looking for ratings. And now it's quite the opposite. There's only one store to shop at. Vince owns everything on TV. It's way different. Still, the whole time that I was with ECW,
I became, well, I don't know if I just became that. I'm sure when I came in there I was already an artist, but not just an entertainer, but an artist that really cares about how I'm portrayed and about how the fans would perceive me. I had the freedom in ECW to do whatever I thought was necessary during my match. That meant to go as long as I wanted. That meant go over the guardrail, do crazy flips, take risks, whatever I felt was appropriate. And that was something earned. It's not just given to everybody. But I felt that I was able to take that and really use it to get over well with my fans. I appreciate the relationship with all the RVD fans that I still have. And that's something that, if I was to never step in the ring again, I'd be glad to have that. I'd be glad to have footage of me versus Jerry Lynn at the pay-per-views, because those were my favorite matches that I've had and that I don't think I could have had anywhere else inside the restrictions of another wrestling group.
Rob, you talk about being an artist and your style. One of the things people say is that because of your style, that may not be able to mesh with the current WWF 2-minute title matches and things along those lines. Could you adapt your style to fit whatever the WWF or any other company may want from you?
No doubt about it, and I'm sure that there's a good chance that it wouldn't be my preferred style. I mean, I'm used to, for several years now, working my ass off every night and 99% of the time having the best match on the card. That would be something that would likely be taken away from me beyond my control, especially if I have 2-minute matches against Hacksaw Jim Duggan. No offense to Jim Duggan.
Sure.
But no offense to Jim, but what I'm saying is that it would I would not necessarily be as happy with my artistic form. Then it would become more of a job, or else maybe there would be something else likable about it, and hopefully it wouldn't be the fact that it's an easy night, because then I feel like the fans get gypped. But the fans are used to seeing what you could call RVD style right now, which is based on ECW. But by the time I wrestled in ECW in '96, I'd already been several years on the independent scene: Memphis, Florida, the Carolinas, WCW, Japan. So I've always been able to adapt different styles, and the style that I came up with at ECW is the one that I use now. Definitely, if I do a show, an independent show for somebody, I know what the fans want to see. But adaptable, no problem, and I'm also flexible, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking to Rob Van Dam on the Wrestling Guys on Buckeye Country 106.5.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Rob, now, if God forbid something happens where you're not picked up, with either WWF or WCW, I mean, what are your options then? I mean, is it going to be Japan, or is it going to be independence? I mean, because you do have this core, hardcore allegiance of fans that I think would basically follow you anywhere, and I think that you would be quite an acquisition to be picked up.
Yep. Given the circumstances that I wasn't, that I didn't come to an agreement to work with the WWF or WCW, which is a good possibility too. I mean, I'm not sure that I would. An agreement will be reached, but I am one of the few wrestlers who will be okay anyway, who have a lot of options. Some of the guys, they just have no choice, and they're so lucky to land a job because they're so far behind and they're starving. I would definitely take everything into consideration and put everything on the table as an option, and that would include Japan. Although, as I've said many times in interviews, I wouldn't want to wrestle full-time in Japan, and that means for all Japan with these 3 or 4 week tours at a time. Now, going a couple days every month, that'd be great, and maybe another company would have that option. But anyway, there would be Japan, there would be independence, which I could definitely keep myself as busy as I want to with the independent scene. I am considering opening up a wrestling school right now.
Really?
Yeah, there's a good chance that I am going to. I've been known to go down to the UPW school and train some of the guys, and I really enjoy it when there's athletes with a lot of potential that really get what I'm saying. I put a little mention on my website about it, and I got a lot of feedback from a lot of people interested in it. So it's a developing idea. Not 100% sure that I'm going to actually go all the way through with it, but very good possibility. That's one of several things that I have going on right now. I mean, there's also some Hollywood stuff. There's always the TV shows. I did a TV show last week called Spy TV for NBC. It's like Candid Camera. And I was up at Bill Anderson's wrestling school, and the whole thing was a practical joke on wannabe wrestlers. So these guys would come to me one at a time that were set up by their girlfriends or their buddies or whatever, and I'd say, hey, yeah, I'm Rob Van Dam, you're here because you want to be a wrestler, right? After they sign the waiver, I make them make complete asses out of them. They have no idea there's 3 cameras around, and I got them making faces and screaming in the mirror, wearing these funky clothes, even have them dressing like a woman to see how far they'll go.
It was basically like the Hart dungeon done for live television.
It should be very funny when it comes out. I also have a couple of writing projects as well that I don't want to get too far into because I want to wait till the timing's right, but one of them is a comic book that I'm very excited about and that I hope to have a sample out. With wrestling has nothing to do with me. There's a story that I have that I've written that I'm doing several things with. One of them is also a screenplay for a production company. But the comic book is being put together right now, and it's something that I'm very excited about because if all these fans that you mentioned that will hopefully follow me wherever I go support this comic, it could be a monthly deal that'll come out every month, and I've got and my story is that way in my head.
And how did things go with Black Mass 2? I mean, when is that?
Black Mass 2 was it was great. I don't know when it's going to be released exactly. I heard summer the whole time that we were shooting it, and I know that they were out here at the AMF Film Festival in Santa Monica a few weeks ago. I did get a rough cut copy of it already, you know, being the superstar that I am.
Oh, sure. Mr. Monday Night, the whole effing show.
You understand.
I understand.
It's a very rough cut. There's people running around in green suits. There's green screens behind them. There's lighting all over the screen that'll say special effects here. There's even Hong Kong prop guys running around with balls on the end of sticks that'll be wiped out. So it's very funny to see. But I did get to see RVD in action, and of course, it's outstanding.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure you wouldn't say anything else, though.
Well, I'm pretty sure after you see it, you'll say the same thing.
Probably.
That is where I get my confidence from, by the way.
Talk a little bit. One of the things you have to get your confidence from is your fans. And I know that when you were here in Dayton, you caused a lot of fits for the security because you kept going out and signing autographs when they wanted you to go back in the locker room and to leave the back of the building. Talk a little bit about your fans and your relationship with them.
The fans, interestingly enough, I feel like I earned at my time with ECW, and that's because when I first came to ECW, I wrestled against Sabu. He was the top guy. He was the man that everybody paid to see, no doubt, at that time. And he was the only guy, he was the first guy to bring in the tables and the chairs, and he was the man. Everybody thought Sabu was great. I came in to wrestle him I debuted January '96, and my debut match was Axl Rotten, but I was thrown right into a program with Sabu, which is my whole reason for being up there. And I believe the fans liked what they saw and how I challenged Sabu, but of course it made me a heel with Sabu being the favorite guy. So after we had the famous or infamous match, Respect match, where I beat Sabu, which the fans I don't think had seen or definitely hadn't seen very many times, I wouldn't shake his hand. I refused to shake his hand, so I'm a big prick now.
Well, because he was walking the dog, and
Exactly.
You didn't want to get the dog germs on your hand. I understand that.
Well, it was circumstantial. You would have done the same thing. I usually carry hand sanitizer with me, but it falls out of my knee pads when I'm doing the flip. So when I was the heel in ECW, that's where I developed my persona. That's where I would do a Rob Van Dam move and look to the crowd and say, "That's right. You guys all wish that you were me, Rob Van Dam." And I would just keep doing that to the crowd, and eventually the fans started just getting on my side, and they started saying, "You know what? You're right." And they say, "RVD's the one wrestler that is as good as he says he is." And then I never really changed my persona. I still heel in that sense. When I'm out in the ring, when I turn to the fans and I say, "Well, what do you expect? I mean, you are looking at Rob Van Dam." and the fans got behind me. So now all the fans that write to me on my website, or I do the personal appearances, I like to do those on my own when they're not sponsored by somebody, when my schedule permits, because I enjoy getting the feedback from the fans. And they all tell me, that they respect what I stand for. I'm the most exciting wrestler that they've ever seen. That I'm the most athletically gifted wrestler in the business, which of course the other wrestlers say too. And I have at my website, robvandam.com, I actually read all the email that comes into me too. I don't answer very many letters because I'm usually totally winded by the time I'm done reading them. But I do read them all, and that's because I really do appreciate the feedback, and I do believe the fans too when they tell me, hey, I've been watching wrestling for 15 years, and when you jump from one side of the ring and clear the whole ring and hit the Van Terminator on the other side, that's amazing. Nobody else could do that, or a split-leg moonsault. I believe they're being serious. Why would they waste their time telling me? And because I appreciate that, I like being around it, I like to feed my ego, I guess. Well, when the fans come and meet me at the personal appearances, at the Rob Van Dam Appreciation Days, whatever, I always hear the same thing there, too. You're not like those other wrestlers. Those guys are pricks, but you're cool.
We have always heard that, too, absolutely. I can definitely say that's the one thing that we've always heard about you.
Well, I don't know why the other guys don't want to spend time with the fans. I mean, besides the fact that they are, the people that are paying to see you.
Yeah, they're the butts in the seats.
That's your goal as any celebrity, is to build your fan base, because then you got more money. Then they'll hopefully buy my comic or my books or see my movie or watch me wrestle, whatever. But besides that, I happen to be a normal person, just like the fan.
Rob, we keep hearing you talk about maybe a third, or I shouldn't say a third, but now I guess a second national promotion, since WWF now owns everything, may pop up. Have you heard anything along those lines? And if so, I assume you'd be interested in working.
I've heard so many of those, just a new one yesterday, as a matter of fact. And I hear, always have heard, there's been the most solid rumor seems to be the one of Hulk Hogan starting a company, which that doesn't mean that I think it's going to happen, because I don't know. But I do know that that's one that I've heard for a long, long time, that he supposedly has a commitment from Fox. And then I hear he was on the radio in Florida saying he had $150 million to buy out the boys' contracts. I don't know. I mean, there's the IGN that was, did the Australia tour, and they're trying to come up. And I've gotten, of course, a lot of calls from indie promoters saying that they're trying to start a thing. And I've also had, I've been approached by investors that are interested in starting company and, wanting my input and my help. And I do believe that if the fans were forced to see just one product, that they would turn to the independent scene more. I think the independent scene would get a lot hotter. They'd want to see a lot of the wrestlers that they can't see on TV, and who knows, maybe it would even break down to territorial. But I think the way right now that it looks like it's going with WWF and WCW, I think that'll probably be good for a while.
I agree with you 100%. That's exactly the way, I'm very skeptical, of course, of this move that WWF made, but I'm really hoping that a lot of the independents are able to get a little stronghold and make little territories once again.
I think so. I think that with Vince owning WCW, it's definitely not going to be the same as it was before WCW, which of course is a good thing, thank God, because it was a pretty bad thing.
Sure.
But at the same time, if it ends up being just like the WWF, I think that's overkill. I mean, I think we hear the commentators enough. I mean, I don't know if I guess they're not on XFL anymore, but for a while I thought that besides having 72 hours of wrestling a week with their voices on it, then they're going to commentate for the football too. But whatever, I guess Vince owns wrestling, he wants to own football, wants to own bodybuilding, and he can do it.
Well, we'll see. I mean, he's done well with wrestling. Bodybuilding, he didn't do that well. Football, we'll see how long it lasts. Let me ask you one thing before we let you go. You mentioned how the product in WCW wasn't very good recently. Would you have still worked for them knowing that their track had not been that well?
That actually would have been advantageous for the whole effing show, if I could talk about myself in third person. Just
sure, go ahead.
Just for me to, being a big fish, to land in a small pond and be able to make a splash would be a lot better than being stuffed in a corner of an overcrowded dressing room. And I honestly believe, as bad as WCW was, that just me walking out to the ring alone would wake the fans up that are sleeping or appeared to be on TV. And gee, some of them might be chanting RVD. They definitely would in the long run. And on top of that, I think I got enough fans that would actually turn to it to watch that would actually even improve their ratings. But I'm kind of out of perspective being the guy that I'm talking about. But yeah, definitely, I think I could have made a difference there. And anything was an option, and still at this point, anything is worth considering an option. I know one thing, it's all good.
Hey, Rob, okay, as Fonzie, plug your website before we go.
That's right, fans. If you want to keep up with everybody's favorite wrestler in the whole effing show, Daddy, it's RobVanDam.com, Daddy.
It's absolutely amazing.
Rob, we appreciate the time. Best of luck to you. Come back again soon.
Cool, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks,
I
Rob.
hope I'm back in Dayton soon.
We hope to see it, too.
Woo!
All right, Rob Van Dam joining us on the Wrestling Guys. Julia is threatening us if we don't go to a break, she's going to lop off our heads. She's going to Orenthal us, so we got to get to a break.
She has the means to do it.
She could do that. 457-1065. You are listening to the Wrestling Guys
On Buckeye Country 106.5.
Okay, Julia, of all the music you can play, K-Quick, you can just kind of delete. You know, you can just go take the K-Quick and delete it right now. We don't want that.
I like the song.
But it's K-Quick.
So you can't fault him just because he has a gimmick you don't like.
You're listening to the Wrestling Guys, Buckeye Country 106.5. I'm Shawn Stidham, Willie F. And in case you just missed it, we just had Rob Van Dam on for a solid half hour. Talked about a lot of things. Talked about how, yes, there was some problems a few years back with the WWF, and maybe that's why that he has not got the phone call like others formerly of ECW who have gotten, now working in the company.
I really hope that he lands on his feet. You know,
your mic just came on, by the way.
Thank you. I really hope that he lands on his feet. You know, I mean, I'm seriously. I mean, the guy is, you know, he's, you know, I should have said this, but I wouldn't say it to him. I guess, you know, not the most psychological wrestler in the ring. But the thing is, every single match, and I know a lot of people criticize him for that, but when it was Rob Van Dam, you really didn't care because you still enjoyed it because he did stuff that no one else was doing, and it was just like, wow, look at this.
There's certain guys that no matter who their opponent is, you say, you know what, they are going to put on a good match.
Yeah.
Benoit's in that category.
Absolutely.
Going down the list. There are others.
I think Triple H is in that category.
Triple H is probably a good one, too. And Austin, Psychology is great. And so, you know, Rob Van Dam is another one, I think, in that category.
And he gives you something different. You know, when you go out there, I mean, it gives you absolutely something different to look at, and a different pace to the match, and a different kind of match. And really, I think that the WWF, you can't even say WCW anymore. You just have to say WWF.
Right.
That they really need to take a hard look. I know that Jim Ross has not been very favorable on him, but at the same time, I really think that they're making a big mistake. You know, if they pass over Rob Van Dam and they keep someone like, well, with all due respect, Billy Gunn.
Yeah, I mean, Billy Gunn, a little side story, this past weekend, Billy Gunn was working the dark matches. And Monday night, I'm not sure who he was working with, but it was an indie guy. And the guy walked out of the ring with 2 knocked out teeth and a black eye.
Yeah.
So Billy Gunn is very, very sloppy right now. And Vince has said that he told the guys in the locker room Monday night, I don't know that you're going to see a lot of crossover with guys shuffling back between the two federations.
I think you're going to see a lot lot of guys sent down.
Yeah. Billy Gunn.
Yes.
I've also heard Test's name, and not so much punishment, a jump start.
Which is kind of weird because, you know, Test has been getting better. Mm-hmm. I mean, the thing is, he just can't get over because essentially, and it's the WWF's fault, really, because they've dropped all the storylines that he's ever been a part of. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look at everything that he's ever done, I mean, you know, it's an afterthought. You know, the whole, you know, his whole marriage with Steph, afterthought. You know, his whole breakup with, you know, with TNA, afterthought. I mean, where did that go?
Right.
That went absolutely nowhere.
And especially the way the breakup with Steph happened, where typically you would think if you were in that situation, you would go full bore after whoever it was that did
Most
that.
definitely.
I mean, you're talking a blood feud.
Absolutely.
And they just said, okay, you know what, we're going to job you out to Triple H. And so it killed that. It killed his heat.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of times to change the scenery is what somebody needs, and maybe going to WCW would not be a bad thing for him. A little bit later on, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Harley Race, 457-1065. Let's go to, oh, wow, this guy hasn't called for a while. On line 1, the Love Man. You're on the Wrestling Guys.
How you doing, guys?
Good. What is up?
Not much, man. I've been away for a while, and I was like, Man, I was talking to Erndog and the other day. I was like, man, we have to call back. Man, it's been like a while. Everybody's trying to...
You picked a good show. I mean, you picked a good show to call back on.
And again, Love Man, this show is now entering, past its second year. I guess going to our third. And, Love Man was one of the original callers, religiously calling every week. And the big thing with Love Man, he was a die-hard WCW guy.
Yeah,
so
that's
Love
right.
Man, we got to ask you, given your allegiance to WCW, what do you think now that Vince owns them?
It hurt. I mean, me and Ernie was talking about that. Erndog, man, we just thought, man, this is unreal. I mean, then he wasn't, satisfied with the WWF and I guess his little football league that he's got now, and he has to take over WCW, which, I think could be a bad idea and a good idea in some ways, but still, what's that going to do for some of the other diehard wrestling fans for WCW? Are they going to stop tuning into wrestling or what?
That's a great question. I mean, there are some people that despite what they thought of WCW, as bland as the product had been in the last couple of years, that was what they grew up watching. They grew up watching the NWA. That, for all intents and purposes, morphed into the WCW, and that was their wrestling. They hated Vince McMahon, some of these people, and now that Vince owns them, it's very possible that they will get away from wrestling altogether, or hopefully, like Rob Van Dam suggested, they take a look inward towards the independents, because that is really where you want to talk about your old-school wrestling style.
Most definitely.
You're going to find it in the independents and really nowhere else right now.
Well, I just hope Vince, realizes that, WCW does have, good talent, and he doesn't try to turn it over like he did WWF and just make it a complete mockery and stuff. Though it is good, but, still WCW does have its ways where it has gone, and hopefully he keeps them ways, but does make it a little better.
Well, we'll see. Time will tell. Love Man, nice to have you back. Thanks for calling in.
All righty, thanks.
All right, take care. All right, time to play a little bit of contest. Julia, go ahead and clear out the phone lines. And what we're going to do is we're going to take caller number 10 at 457-1065. We're going to play a little game. It's called 5 and 10.
5 and 10.
5 and 10. What the rules are is you have 10 seconds. We give you a subject, and you have to name 5 things regarding, like, for example, I would say name 5 baseball teams.
Okay.
Go.
Atlanta Braves, Cincinnati Reds, Toronto Blue Jays, New York Yankees, and Baltimore Orioles.
There you go. See, there's 5. It's similar to that. We're going to give you a category, and within that category, you name 5, whatever it is.
Okay.
And
like
then the winner gets one of the official Insider Story to WrestleMania books. The book is out now. It features a 2-hour DVD with highlights from every WrestleMania.
Which is very cool.
Behind-the-scenes interviews.
Cool.
And plus, the book itself. To give you an example, WrestleMania 4, there was an incident where one of the wrestlers on the card. Should we say who it is?
No, don't say who it is.
We're not going to say who it is.
Take them out of the book.
And don't just go out and go to the bookstore and look it up.
Look it up.
Find the damn thing. One of the wrestlers had given the president, and WrestleMania 4 was held at the Trump Plaza.
Yes.
He gave the president of the Trump Plaza, because he thought the guy was concierge, 2 tickets, and said, go out and see what you can get for these and bring me back the money.
Oh.
So the guy who writes the book, Basil DeVito, used to be the president of the WWF.
Yeah.
The guy from Trump Plaza goes to Basil and says, what should I do with these? So, we won't say who that is, but anyway, we have our guy on the line, and from Kettering, it's Andy. Andy, how are you?
Hey, how are you guys?
Doing just fine. Okay, here we go. You ready to play 5 and 10?
Yeah.
Julia, you can monitor the clock, right? Julia? Okay. Okay, thank you for responding. Anyway, you have 10 seconds, and here's the category. Name 5 wrestlers that wrestled at the very first WrestleMania. You have 10 seconds. Go.
Barry Windham, Hulk Hogan, the British Bulldog, Bret Hart.
Wrong.
All wrong. Sorry, we have to go to somebody else. Thanks a lot, Andy. Let's go to the next caller, and let's just see who he is. Here we go. This is the lull while Julia's answering the phone.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Go right to it.
We're playing 5 and 10. Okay, Julie, who do we have?
Jay.
Jay, how are you?
All right, how you doing?
Doing well. Okay, here you go. 5 and 10. Same category. We'll make it easy for you. 5 wrestlers from the first WrestleMania. Go.
All right, Barry Windham, British Bulldog, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Iron Sheik.
Sorry, nice try. We'll go to the next caller. Hi, who is this?
This is Mike.
Mike, 5 wrestlers from the first WrestleMania. You have 10 seconds. Go.
Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper, Paul Orndorff, Mr. T, King Kong Bundy.
There you go. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's
You got
it.
5.
You
There
got
you
'em.
go. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Nice job. Where are you calling from?
Heber Heights.
Heber Heights. Well, what you have picked up is from HarperCollins Publishing, the official insider story to WrestleMania. It's a retail value of $50, includes a DVD that is 2 hours long, and it is all yours. So hang on the line. Julia's going to get some details from you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And just to give everyone else, who's playing along at home, the official card. Here you go. Is Hulk Hogan, Mr. T. You could actually say Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Well, we may have taken that.
I would have
wrestled, but
okay. Roddy Piper, Paul Orndorff, Leone Kai, and Wendy Richter, Andre the Giant, Big John Studd, Barry Windham, Mike Rotundo, Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Junkyard Dog, David San Martino, Brutus Beefcake, Ricky Steamboat, Matt Bourne, S.D. Jones, King Kong Bundy, Tito Santana, and the Executioner.
yeah. So no British Bulldog, no Bret Hart, but appreciate everybody chiming in. But you start thinking back. We've had 16 WrestleManias.
Most definitely.
It's kind of tough. They all kind of start.
And a lot of people didn't see that. I mean, I had to go to Hare Arena and see that on a big screen. WrestleMania.
I went down to Cincinnati and saw it.
Yeah.
So it was, you did not have the pay-per-view. You had closed-circuit television. And for what people may not
The
remember
first
that.
two. I remember the first two were on closed circuit.
Yeah, actually, I think the third one was too. Actually, I watched the second one. The second one was available on pay-per-view. But where we lived at, pay-per-view was such a new thing, you had to go down to the cable office. You had to get a box because they weren't in everybody's home. You had to put like a $200 deposit down the box, take the box home, hook it up, watch the pay-per-view, and then take it back the next day, get your deposit back.
I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember
so
those times,
it
yeah.
was a win. Okay, we got to take a break. 457-1065. When we come back, we're going to talk to Ricky, the Dragon Steamboat. You're listening to The Wrestling Guys.
On Buckeye Country 106.5.
To the Wrestling Guys at Buckeye Country 106.5, Shawn Stidham and Willie F. Julia behind the board, and we're still chasing down Ricky Steamboat. But we were going through this book.
Yeah.
And, one of the sad things is you go through this book and you realize how many people are no longer with us.
Yeah, like the Executioner.
Well, that's the execute himself, I guess. But no.
Well, can I talk about...
Yeah, go ahead.
There's one site, and I don't even think I've talked to you about it.
Okay.
Maybe you haven't even been to it. And this is the name of the site, and I'm not making this up. And so the name of the site, trust me, it is well worth the time. It's www.wrestlecrap.com.
WrestleCrap.
Yes.
Okay.
And what they have is all the bad gimmicks, all through the ages. They have them archived. They have sound bites. They have video of if you want to see, when Gene Okerlund was dancing with the gobbledygooker from
Yes.
Survivor Series.
It is there.
They have it. Someone turned me on to this site. I cannot stress enough what a fun site it is. And not only that, but for some of you who are kind of newer into wrestling, go back and see some of your heroes now, what they did back then. There's even one I didn't even know I can't even remember what they were, but the Hardy Boys.
Yeah.
What were they before? Do you remember?
No.
They were in 3 years ago as this team underneath masks that everyone would just went, oh God, who are these guys? And I can't remember what the name of it was, and I'm sorry for that. But of course, you'll have Kevin Nash as Oz and Master Blaster.
Yes.
And you have, all these guys that I was going, I don't remember. It's like, how did I forget about this guy? And it's because they were so bad. But the guys there have done a great job, chronicling both, WWF, WCW, and then stuff that they say that, that neither one of them, that's so bad that neither one of them came out. Do you remember, now, I know you're a big video game buff,
Yeah.
as more so than I am, really. But when PlayStation first came out with the WrestleMania game, long time ago, WWF had a video that went along with it.
Okay,
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Do you remember how bad it was?
I didn't have the video. I remember
Trust me, go to WrestleCrap.com and they have chronicled it out on how bad the video was. And I want this, if anyone has the video, I have to see it. It is that
What
good.
is so bad about it?
Well, they have Bret Hart making the video, or making the video game. And he shows up to make the video game in his gear.
Okay.
For one. And he's working along, forging along with them in the factory in his gear. He has something where he has, not a dump truck, a forklift. He's that has anything to do with a video game. You have Paul Bearer on this video telling people, well, you know what, I can't really talk about the Undertaker's moves, but I can give you an example, and this is what you do, press right.
Are you Paul Bearer or Bill Clinton?
I'm just trying to do my. I'm just trying to, give the illusion.
I understand.
I know it's not very good. I'm not like Will Ferrell or anything, but saying push your right button down and push your blue button, and it's like I have to have this video.
You are a fan of very bad things.
This was a dream come true when and I have to thank the people that showed me the way to this site. Trust me, it is well worth your time. You will spend a long time there getting, there's, God, it was the, now I can't, this was in WCW, and it was one of the guys that, Tugboat, the guy who played Tugboat.
Yeah.
And, God, I can't remember the name now, but where he tripped. Do you remember that? This guy was like the big, it wasn't the executioner, but it was something like it.
You're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, and he broke down through the wall, and then he tripped on his way out and basically killed the entire momentum of that character. Well, this chronicles all that, shows the trip, and also has an audio bite of Jesse Ventura laughing about it.
Oh, geez.
Actually on the air during the pay-per-view.
Taking your phone calls, 457-1065. But you're going back and looking through the history of the people that that are no longer here.
Yeah.
Big John Studd, Andre the Giant. Yeah. I'm just going down the line. The first one, Junkyard Dog.
Junkyard Dog. Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. So, you look at some of the celebrities involved at the first WrestleMania. Liberace was there. Billy Martin was there.
Yep.
Certainly, they're no longer with us. And then moving into WrestleMania 2. Gorilla Monsoon. When you watch the DVD, I popped this in the other day. You hear Gorilla and Jesse doing the commentary. And
wow.
Gorilla Monsoon was your play-by-play man for probably the first 5 WrestleMania or something like that.
Yeah.
And and of course he's no longer with us, unfortunately. I'm just looking through here, going down the list here and seeing, Adrian Adonis. There's another one too. So it's a great book, great DVD. We're going to give away a couple more as the night goes on, but let's get back to the phone lines, 457-1065, and go to, is it Randy? Randy in Miamisburg, how are you?
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
Good.
I think the guy that crashed through the wall, wasn't that the Shockmaster?
Yes, it was the Shockmaster. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, what with everything happening with WCW and WWF merging right now, what do you think possibility is of the Clique not only performing backstage, but possibly in front of the cameras?
I think Kevin Nash will not be involved in wrestling until his contract is up with WCW. What I mean by that, actually, not even his contract with WCW anymore, his contract with AOL Time Warner, because AOL Time Warner has his contract. It was not one that was negotiated to go with the deal with the WWF. And essentially, Kevin Nash has pretty much come out and already said, I'm going to sit out and ride this thing out. I'm going to sit out and I'm going to collect my $1.6 million a year that is a guaranteed contract. I can sit on my butt and do absolutely nothing and get paid this amount, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it. And then after a year, then maybe I'll see if the WWF wants me.
And you really can't blame the guy.
No, not at all.
On the buyout of his contract, anybody that was making $1.5 million a year and more was getting offered 30 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
So Kevin Nash would, if he got a buyout, would get just under $500,000.
Yeah.
I'm sure then that would be taxed, and then you have to go back to work. Kevin is I think a single father now. I think he and his wife are divorced.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Loves his kids, likes to spend as much time with them as possible.
Most definitely.
And he can spend the next 10 months and get very, very hefty, fat paychecks for doing it.
Yeah, most definitely. I don't see him doing it. I would actually be surprised if you see Goldberg back too.
I would too.
I mean, really.
One more thing for the gimmick battle royal is, I'm wondering if there's any chance that possibly we could see maybe the return of Sparky Plug or something along that line.
I wish they would do something like that, but I don't think they will, because I don't think they want to jeopardize because that's another guy that's on Wrestle Crap is Sparky Plug. I don't think they want to jeopardize showing the guys in that light. I think that's why you won't see Rikishi do the Sultan. You won't see Kane do Isaac Yankem, though I think that would be the one that you could get away with.
Yeah.
is having Kane come out and do Isaac Yankem, because no one really, I mean, who really knows?
I'd like to see, maybe you have to wear a wig, but just Incredible's Aldo Montoya.
Oh, most definitely.
Rikishi as the Sultan.
Yeah. I don't think they'll do that either, because he would have to shave his head.
One more thing before I forget. Do you guys remember when, I think it was in '91, when Brutus Beefcake was going around and he had it looked like a grill on his face, and he'd make random appearances and attack people like Earthquake?
Yeah.
What in the hell was he called?
Was that the Zodiac?
No, not the Zodiac. In WWF, he was still Brutus Beefcake.
Was he?
Yeah.
But he was running around, he looked like a jester almost.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really bad idea. But no, he was still Brutus Beefcake. I don't know if they really ever explained that, because I think that storyline got killed, thankfully.
Yeah.
But that was when he was coming back from the parasailing accident.
That's right.
And that's why he had to wear, he wore a lot of stuff to cover up his face.
Yeah.
Because for those of you that don't know, it was like 1991.
Yeah.
Brutus Beefcake was vacationing, and he was he was working with somebody parasailing. And what you have to do when you do that is when they have the skis on, they're behind the boat, somebody has to hold the line as they get started, so the line doesn't kink up or whatever. And for whatever reason, the skier didn't get up high enough. So when Brutus turned around, the skier's knees drove right into his face.
Yep.
And it was thought for a long time that he would never come back. He has numerous screws and plates in his head. Great going through a metal detector, I guess. But so it took years for him to be able to come back, and when he initially did come back, he wore the gorilla mask. He had a different kind of Phantom of the Opera style mask.
Yeah, I remember that. And trust me, you can tell that those plates and screws in his face have affected him.
Yeah.
If you ever had to sit down and talk with the guy.
Thanks, you guys, for the time. And what about Killer Bees or Natural Butch Reed?
Hey, that may
I would
happen.
love to see it, yeah.
Take it easy, guys.
I appreciate the phone call.
What were you going to say?
You worked on a show with Brutus.
Yes, I did.
He
was
years
very
ago.
odd.
In what way? You don't do anything to jeopardize, I know, but...
No, not at all. I mean, trust me, just the whole... Because I was doing color commentary for the show. It was actually a Middletown show, and, they brought in Brutus Beefcake. And he was just, strange. This was the point where NWO was going strong, and he had been basically just dropped by WCW, but then that resurgence was starting to come back, and they were going to bring him back in. It was right before, he came back in as the, disciple.
Right.
Okay, so I was trying to talk to him about, it's like, well, you feel like this, well, I mean, the guy, just the whole thing. I mean, I guess he sat in a corner of the dressing room, and just watched guys, and had these big, wide eyes, and, just gazing at them, and, not saying anything. Very spooky. And so that's why I thought, this guy, something's not wrong. Not right with this guy at all.
457-1065. Let's take one more phone call before we go to a break. And who is this?
The Undertaker guy.
Undertaker guy, what is up?
Nothing much. Yeah, as far as love being concerned, quick grind, they're dead. Okay, just accept it.
WCW is dead. Well, technically
it's not dead.
I mean, Vince is going to bring him back. If you go to WCW.com, Shane McMahon's face is right there.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a storyline in a sense where you've had an entire company turn face.
Okay, I got a question about a couple of guys. One is for the gimmick battle royal, you forgot one of the greatest names ever. The blowaway die of Buddy Rhodes.
Oh, that would be funny. That would be funny. If Buddy Rose came out on the ramp and did the blowaway diet, that would be huge.
That would be huge.
But the problem is, I think I can't say that line. Anyway, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, another question is, when Vince was talking about Jeff Jarrett and all them, did they know about that?
I would severely doubt it. That was pretty much a straight offshoot. Now, I would think that they probably knew that something, that was not a locker room they wanted to be around that night, and I think that's the reason why you didn't see people like, Jeff Jarrett.
Well, Jeff Jarrett was backstage. Jeff Jarrett
that's
did
right.
show up.
Yeah, you're right. He did.
And, he did not leave the WWF. And this is where I think that Vince McMahon, and as much as I like Vince and I respect him as a businessman, and I was one of the few that supported him during the entire Bret Hart thing.
Right.
But when you have a case like Jeff Jarrett did do the time-honored tradition.
Yeah.
He went into the pay-per-view, He lost the Intercontinental belt to China, even though he was under contract to WCW. He was going to start on Nitro the very next night.
That's right.
And a lot of people in that situation would have taken the belt and walked right into WCW, right on the Nitro, and he would have walked in being the Intercontinental champion.
I think the thing that they were so peeved about, though, is due to the fact that the way that he did it. He demanded something like $250,000 for a one-shot deal. And I can't remember, he was basically making, I know it was under $1 million.
Right.
So, I mean, we're talking maybe $500,000, $750,000, okay? So you're making a third of your money that you had made in a year on a one-shot deal to lose it.
From what I understand, part of what he wanted wasn't so much for him to show up, but he was owed money, because we've talked about this, and this was a problem with ECW.
Right.
When you work a pay-per-view, you normally don't get paid for that for like another year. Because they have to wait for the revenues from the pay-per-view to come in. Jarrett wanted his money now.
Yeah.
He was afraid he was going to get screwed out of it. I'm sure he inflated his price, too.
I heard it was $250,000.
Okay, one more question.
Real quick, because we got to go to a break.
Was the missing link ever in the WWF?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
most
another
definitely.
gimmick would be great.
Yeah, he was in for like a year or so. Jimmy Hart managed him.
Yeah.
I think didn't Bobby Heenan start off managing?
I think so, yeah.
And, like,
I think that's what it
gave
was.
him to Jimmy
Yeah.
Hart. 457-1065 is our phone number. We are the Wrestling Guys.
On Buckeye Country 106.5.
Welcome back to the Wrestling Guys at Buckeye Country 106.5. Shawn, Stidham, Willie F., Julia behind the board. And we were talking about bad gimmicks. And, of course, this Sunday at WrestleMania, you've got the Gimmick Battle Royal. And one of the ones we brought up before the break is Aldo Montoya, who, for those of you that don't know, is just incredible.
Yeah.
That was one of his
With a
original...
big jock strap on his head.
Yeah. And if you want to see it, go to page 72 of the new Pro Wrestling Illustrated 2001 Wrestling Almanac. And if you've never seen this thing, it is great to have.
Absolutely.
Especially
if you're a wrestling fan, it is a must-have book.
Because we get asked questions all the time, what about this, what about this, how many times did this guy win a title? And in this book, you've got the top 500 ratings for the last 10 years.
Yep.
All the awards PWI gives at the end of the year, the Wrestler of the Year, the Rookie of the Year, all of those, every winner, they have a list of multi-federation champions. So you can go to a guy like Arn Anderson and see every major title.
That's cool. That's something new for this year, isn't it? They didn't have that before.
I'm not sure if they did or not.
I don't think they did.
A little bit later on, Harley Race is going to join us, and you go down and you look at Harley Race, and you look at his resume here, and it's just, you look at 3-time AWA World Tag Team Champion, 8-time NWA World Champion, and that's just the major titles. You don't even get into the Mid-Atlantic titles the guy won, the Missouri title, and everything else that guy won. Every wrestling supercard, going back to 1971,
Yeah.
The complete results are in here. Again, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, the 2001
It's
Wrestling
really,
Almanac.
what is it, like $9? No, wow. I thought it was more expensive than that last year.
How much is it?
It's $5.95.
$5.95? So
trust me, it is the best $6 that I think that you'll be able to spend.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, go out and check that out. A little bit later on, we're going to give away some more copies of the official Insider Story to WrestleMania with the DVD included, and also we're going to talk to former NWA champion Harley Race. Let's look ahead to this Sunday in WrestleMania. The main event, The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Deborah in the corner of The Rock. How do you see it going down?
I see Deborah not playing a factor.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. I don't know. I still say that the money is being put on The Rock having an injury angle, and that's why he's going to be out for a while. And I think that will all stem from Kurt Angle.
You still think that's going to happen?
Yeah. See, that seems to be what the money. I'm just saying. The Las Vegas experts.
Well, my guess was that in some way Shawn Michaels would have worked his way into the main event, either as a special referee or something. And I still would not be surprised, even though, from what we understand last night, we'll talk about it again more, Shawn Michaels, what he got sent for last night. I thought that in some way, like maybe Austin wins the belt and celebrating, Michaels sneaks in from behind, hits him with the sweet chin music, and, you have the angle where you're not going to win the belt in my state, I'm the king of Texas or whatever. Something along those lines. Because I think Michaels is such a marquee name that when he comes back, he's only going to be in marquee matchups, and certainly I don't think you're going to see Michaels going after the European belt or the Intercontinental title.
No, most
You're
definitely
going to see him going after the world title if he's in the title hunt, and with The Rock taking some time off to film Scorpion King, I thought you would see a short feud between Shawn Michaels and Austin.
That's very possible. I still say that, they're going to want to take Rock out gracefully, and the best way to have him go out gracefully, say, oh, he's injured, he's on the shelf, he can phone something in from his home, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, which would be a movie set now in L.A., but he could easily do that and still be on Monday and still keep his, face around for like the first couple weeks and then disappear, fade off a little bit, and then, SummerSlam, bam, he's right back in the picture.
I think he'll be back before that. I wouldn't be, I don't know, maybe. We'll see. Well, he does have The Rock and his wife are expecting their first child, too. And I'm not sure exactly when that's going to, when it's scheduled to be born. So he may take the summer off to be with that. Then you have the TLC match, second year in a row.
Yeah.
Hardys, Dudleys, and Edge and Christian. I'm sure Julia thinks the Hardys are going to win.
That someone's definitely going to get hurt.
Julia's nodding yes.
Someone's getting hurt. They're going to do something stupid. To top last year, they're going to do something stupid.
Which was voted on by the fans here and most wrestling publications as the match of the year.
Absolutely. And that's what I mean. They're going to have to do something just silly.
Benoit, Kurt Angle.
Benoit, Kurt Angle, I think, has a chance to be one of the matches, the highlights of WrestleMania. I don't think it'll be, a match of the year candidate, but I don't know. I got a bad feeling about this WrestleMania. I don't know why. I think it's maybe it's because it's 4 hours too. I mean, the thing is 4 hours long.
Right.
I think that they're not going to be able to hold a crowd for 4 hours.
And plus you have the hype of over 60,000 people, 70,000 close to
Most definitely.
in the Houston Astrodome.
And if that crowd dies, I'm sorry, the entire WrestleMania is off. It's going to die.
And then Julie has a guess.
Don't you think that maybe a little, the fact that with the WCW thing happening with Shane and Vince, that might overshadow actually the main event? Because Mick Foley's coming back and being the special referee.
I don't think it'll overshadow it. But what I said I could see happening, and I said this on the hotline, is with Mick Foley and a special referee, there's a couple ways this could go. Number one, I do not see WCW winning the match this Sunday, of course, being Shane McMahon. I also don't see Mick Foley allowing Vince to win that match unless Mick Foley makes the swerve. And I would not be surprised to see Mick Foley make a swerve, go heel, to help Vince win that match.
Right.
Or, the other case, if Shane McMahon does win, to see Mick Foley go over to the WCW.
That's what I see happening.
I could see it happening from a storyline perspective, but with Mick's new book coming out and everything else, you want Mick identified with the WWF.
Yes, I agree. I agree 100%. And actually, with his new book coming out, you don't want him to be a heel either.
And say what you want to about Shane versus Vince, because from the outside, I think it's a bad idea. I don't like the owner of the company putting himself into a marquee match. But Shane McMahon works his ass off.
Yes.
Vince, when he's done this in the past, has done a lot of stuff that a 54-year-old man should not be doing.
I agree with you 100%.
And the owner of the company. So hopefully, they would be able to, pull off a decent match.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping to. I mean, I still think that, it's going to be Linda McMahon causing the end of that match. She's going to miraculously come out of her coma,
right,
and be able to cause the end of that match.
We shall see. 457-1065. Tell you what we're going to do. We are going to take a break.
Partial punch Trish.
During the break, we're going to take the 15th caller, 457-1065. You will win a WrestleMania book. When we come back, we'll hopefully talk to Harley Race. You're listening to The Wrestling Guys.
On Buckeye Country 106.5.
On The Wrestling Guys, Buckeye Country 106.5. I'm Shawn Stidham. Willie F. and Julia is here. And Julia, who is our winner?
It was actually Boomer. I'll just say Boomer, yeah.
You have to say Boomer.
That's what he goes by, is Boomer from Fairborn.
Congratulations.
Boomer from Fairborn.
I'm telling you, and if you don't win one of these books tonight, what we got? We got one more to give away?
Well, one more to give away,
yes. Trust me, this is also a fine book to go out and purchase.
Yes. And actually, if you go to the HarperCollins website, harpercollins.com, you can actually read a preview, like the first chapter, online.
Oh, really?
So you can get a sense of it. And again, it's great behind the scenes stuff. For example, you read the inside cover, how WrestleMania 16's Fatal 4-Way match came to have a McMahon in every corner, how Vince McMahon boldly predicted the weather with 93,000 seats on the line, which that's a pretty cool story.
Yeah, that is actually a pretty cool story.
what the celebrities were like, what happened when the Hell's Angels showed up backstage at the first WrestleMania and demanded a seat. So all of that is in this book. And
it's a great book, and and if you're online too, I know you can go a lot of places and find it.
Sure, Amazon.com and stuff like
Absolutely.
that. Again, it's the official insider story to WrestleMania, and congratulations to Boomer and Fairborn for picking up a copy. Now, on the Celebrity Hotline, this gentleman was 8 times the champion of the National Wrestling Alliance, 3 times. He was the AWA World Tag Team Champion, and I'll throw in Mid-Atlantic belts, Missouri State belts, everything else. This guy is a legend in the sport. His name is Harley Race. Harley, an honor to have you on the Wrestling Guys.
Well, it's always a pleasure to talk to the public again, and especially if you're talking with guys that know a little bit about what they're talking about.
Well, we'll see. Harley, we're talking about, obviously, WrestleMania this Sunday. You were a part of WrestleMania. What was your experience with that like?
Well, you got to say when you're in front of 4,000 people that it was a big adrenaline rush, and it was great.
And in that match, you took on Junkyard Dog. And you were also, really, a lot of people think Bret Hart was the first King of the Ring tournament winner. Even though you were known as the King during that time, you won the actual first King of the Ring tournament, which I think was in the New England area, right?
Yeah, it was at...
It was an outside show, and it wasn't on pay-per-view, but it was an outdoor tournament. They held it there for the first few years before they put it on pay-per-view.
Yeah, at Boston, it's the Green Monster, whatever that stadium is called.
Fenway Park.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you compare, because WrestleMania obviously is a supercard, but you also had a lot of experience on another supercard called Starrcade. Any comparisons between the two, what it was like, difference-wise, between wrestling for one supercard and another?
Oh, they're all similar. Once you get used to wrestling in front of a crowd, you're in the ring, it's the same difference. There's a crowd, and they either cheer and they're booing. Speaking of first pay-per-view,
Courtney Cox on the show.
There you go. 457-1065. Let's get back to the phone lines. One call before we get to a break.
Yeah, let's go to Mike.
Okay, Mike.
Mike and Dayton.
How you doing? Welcome to the Wrestling Guys.
I'm doing real good. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
I had a question about the Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Yeah.
Do you think possibly the WWF would bring him in as a one-time deal for WrestleMania, kind of like WoW did?
Not for this WrestleMania.
No. I don't see that happening. Bobby the Brain Heenan, and who I have all the respect in the world for. I think he's a great color commentator. I just don't think he fits into what the WWF wants to do right now.
And I think, basically, Heenan said pretty much on the show that, he'd be more than willing to accept a desk job with the WWF, but that's about all he wants to do now.
Yeah.
But they could bring him in maybe for the gimmick battle royal.
I don't think Bobby would do that.
No,
I think Bobby would look at that and kind of have the same opinion we do, that some of the guys, it cheapens their legacy.
Exactly.
And I think, some of the guys like Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov, I think it does do that. Certainly from a comical standpoint with Gobbledygooker and Brother Love, I can see that. But they put their guys in there like Michael Hayes. It just doesn't really do anything for their legacy in this business. 457-1065. We're going to take a break. We come back, your phone calls, and we'll wrap up. We are the Wrestling Guys.
On Buckeye Country 106.5.
Welcome back to the Wrestling Guys at Buckeye Country 106.5. I'm Shawn Stidham along with Willie F. Julia is in here as well. And last week, Vince McMahon ruffled a lot of feathers with his interview with Bob Costas this last Wednesday on HBO.
Are you going to let me finish?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm just sorry. I'm just doing
No, go ahead.
doing that for... No, I was just doing that. No,
Okay.
see, that was Vince.
I thought you had the one that fit. So.
No, I was doing Vince.
I know, I'm sorry. Anyway. But
you keep cutting me off. Had a point. I want to talk about something.
But Bob did keep cutting him off. It was horrible.
No.
The one thing I was surprised about that interview last week is how bad that Bob Costas looked against Vince McMahon. I think it was
pretty equal.
I do think it was equal, but I'm surprised Costas came off looking unprepared. When Vince got him to admit that he hadn't seen the XFL since the first week, and that played right into what Vince's point was of, people need to give us another chance.
Right.
And Costas came back with the crack, well, aren't your pregame shows pretty low-rent entertainment? And Vince goes, well, we don't have pregame shows. And then the fact that Bob said that, he hadn't seen wrestling
about a year.
Or the crack with the
with the suck it and
well, do you think suck it and the
is
crotch
about a
chopper
year,
good
yep.
for cable television?
Right.
And Vince comes back with, well, what was the lead into your show, Bob? Let's look here. Oh, The Sopranos.
Yeah, exactly.
That was awesome. You know what? Something that really disappointed me in Bob Costas. He said, I don't know. I know he's a big sports person, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I knew, and after watching, I don't like him anymore. But he has that question.
Tom Hanks is a pretty big actor person too.
Yeah, well, I don't know. But I thought you couldn't tell by this question.
Wait,
that
you didn't know Tom Hanks is a big actor person?
No, he's cute. This question that he asked Vince, you couldn't tell that he was into sports at all because he looks at him and he goes, well, how about your players? And
wait a minute.
Listen,
You think Bob Costas isn't into sports?
No, you couldn't tell by this question that I'm going to say that he asked because it was, I knew it, and I'm not into sports.
Okay.
But you have a team that didn't have a 4-week preseason like most sports do, especially football. They play with each other a great deal, and then they start.
Yeah.
And obviously the XFL didn't have that because they kind of came really fast.
Right.
And so Vince McMahon's like, well, we're doing a lot better. There's a lot more players, better plays that we're doing. And Bob looks at him and goes, same players as a month ago, Vince. So what's the difference? That was the stupidest question I think I've ever heard, because if you know a team that have played together for a month that hadn't before, of course they're going to get better. They're not going to get worse.
That's Vince's fault for not allowing them to have the proper time to get to know each other.
Exactly, but the thing is, why would Bob, being a sports person, understanding that logic...
I think what happened is those two guys started going at each other, and they get agitated, and so you get thrown off your game a little bit. And I think Vince did that to Bob, and I think Bob did that to Vince.
I mean, the same people say...
I think Vince did that more to Bob, though.
The same people say things about the comments that you make on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it's been, over a month.
Yeah, that's okay.
So that's all right.
457-1065, the phone number. Let's go back to the phone lines. And let's go to line 1 and talk to Chad and Troy. You're on the Wrestling Guys.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Chad.
I have a question. I'm not sure. Someone may have mentioned this because I missed about 20 minutes, but do you think there's any chance